Hello, Jaime. We're doing this interview as an introduction to get to know you.
Okay.
Name and credentials.
My name is Jaime Corona. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm also the owner and founder of New Horizon Counseling Center, Therapy Boxing, and that's who I am.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
First of all, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and I'm a great-grandfather. And so I've been counseling for approximately 15 years now. I love it. I love the outdoors. I guess one of my hobbies would be working on things. I like fixing up things. So I'll do a lot of things with my own hands and building stuff like that. Believe in God. I believe God's a big part of my life as well. And so, that's basically who I am.
Why did you choose to become a counselor?
Well, speaking of God, I think this was a calling. I was in corporate America world, and I just didn't feel fulfilled. And at that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure the direction, or I didn't have a dream of always being a counselor. But in my undergrad studies, I had came across a professor who was a therapist, and it really, really intrigued me. And so at one point in my life, I was trying to go for my master's in business, my MBA, and through the company I was working for, that got axed. And I remember going home and telling my wife, well, that's not going to happen, because they would kind of sponsor it, tuition reimbursement and all that. At that moment, it just came about me, and I told her, I'll never forget, I told her, you know what, I think I know what I want to do. And she looked at me kind of funny, and she was, what? And I said, I think I want to be a counselor. And she's, where did that come from? And so I said, well, you remember that time, that professor that I told you about and all that? I says, that really intrigued me. He's really doing something to help. And that's what I feel like I need to do. I feel like this is the path that God wants me to take. And so that's why I do what I do.
What would you tell someone who's on the fence about counseling?
To know that every therapist is different. To do their homework. If it's their first time, kind of look at the bios, kind of ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. It's your right. You have the right to know, okay, do you have experience in this area? You have experience in that area? Do your due diligence in looking into the therapist that you're considering. But I would definitely encourage anyone to do counseling for just, even if you're just confused about where to go in life, or you're not feeling fulfilled. We usually, correlate counseling with trauma or issues, problems. It's not all about that. It could be simply about life issues or not feeling fulfilled. So I would say try it. I would say somebody that's on the fence, just try it. Now, if you have an experience that you feel like, that didn't go as well as expected, don't give up. I always tell my new clients that come in, I says, if you feel like I'm not the right fit for you, that's okay. We're not here for me. We'll find somebody, we'll help you find somebody that's a better fit for you. So I would say try it, don't fear it. Don't go by what other people's experiences are. Do your due diligence and find a therapist that'll align with what you need.
How do you manage a healthy work-life balance?
Yeah, and this is one I preach to my clients all the time. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I love to build things. I like to work on, things around the house. And as a therapist, we consume a lot. And so I have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. You know, I'm practicing what I preach. You know, I have that balance in life. And sometimes it does, you know, get out of whack. And sometimes I have to, you know, realign myself and things like that. But I think in my case, you know, I enjoy spending time with the family. I enjoy, like I said, building things. I love to travel. So I try to do as much as that as possible, you know, and so being spiritually connected, I think that's another aspect of being well balanced, because if you're feeling off, you know, as a therapist, you should know it, you should feel it and understand, okay, I'm not, you know, I'm not feeling it. I feel like something's going on, and you need to be aware of yourself. So exercise, I try to do a little bit of exercise, so that's another way.
What do you consider to be your top 3 strengths and weaknesses as a therapist?
I think my top strength is, and I hate to say this because this is getting out there, my age. You know, I'm no spring chicken, so it's like I tell the youngsters, take advantage of counseling. I says, I got 60 years of data up here, you know, 60 years of advice, things that I have experienced, things that I could teach you. And so, you know, like I said, I've worked in corporate America. I know what it's like to be poor. You know, I grew up poor. I tell folks all the time, you know, growing up, I never had my own bedroom. I picked tomatoes, cucumbers, been out in the fields. You know, at one point we had a family restaurant, and so I feel like that's one of my strengths is my life experience. So what my clients are getting is not only what I've learned from the books, it's things that, you know, I've experienced myself. Now you said 3 strengths. Oh geez, does that count as 3 or is that just 1?
Just 1.
Just 1. Oh my goodness. I think the other strength is that I try to practice what I preach, and I think that's very important. You know, because like if you go to a financial advisor, you expect that financial advisor to know what they're saying and what they're doing. You expect their finances to be in order. And so I feel like that's another strength. I really, really try to practice what I preach. And I feel like my other strength is that I really care. I do this, you know, when I switched careers, I had people saying, Jaime, what are you doing? You know, you don't get money, you know, make a whole lot of money as a counselor. And my answer to that, it's not about the money. So I feel that's a strength, that I'm in my position now, not because I was chasing the dollar, you know, it's because I wanted to make a difference, and I do care. I do care for all my clients. Yeah.
Top 3 weaknesses.
Top 3 weaknesses. You know, one of the weaknesses, and I've had to set boundaries, is I don't see kids, typically, I try not to, they sneak in every once in a while, kids that are grieving, little kids. Oh, that's just too hard for me. So I know I have to set a balance there. It's hard for me to separate that balance. There's this facility called the Warm Place, and hats off to them. I don't know how they do it. They provide counseling to these young children who are grieving the loss of a parent, grandparent, or whoever. So I feel that's a weakness, but like I said, I set a boundary. The other weakness is when it comes to clients, and that's why I try not to answer the phone, because I have a difficulty of telling somebody no, you know, like, I'm loaded, you know. It's very hard for me to turn away, especially if it's a youngster. It's hard for me to say no, you know, I'm fully booked, you know, I don't have the space. And so thank God for our staff, because I'd be working till 12 o'clock at night if I did. So, but yeah. So one more weakness. I would say. I believe in God. I strongly believe in God. But I feel that I'm not where I need to be, I guess, as in knowledge with God. There's so much else that I would like to learn and feel or be more connected in a sense. I just feel like I admire the folks that can, quote the Bible, quote verses from the Bible and stuff like that. And, I have to be honest. I can't. I don't know the Bible that well, but I do believe in God. I talk about God all the time. So, but I would say that's a weakness.
How would you describe your therapeutic style to a client?
Good question. That one, it depends on the client. So for every client I have, I try to meet them where they're at. It's not textbook, because every client is different. Every client has different experiences, different background, different culture, different beliefs. And so I try to meet them where they're at. Now, as far as a style, I would say I'm more of an educator type of counselor. I like to teach my clients. I like them to understand why they feel the way they do, why they think the way they do. I give them homework. And so it's not just about them sitting here and me asking them, okay, well, how do you feel about that? Yes, that is therapeutic, but there is more to it. I like to teach them as much as I know. And as we're going through the process, I like to guide them so that they can understand, okay, Jaime's doing this because of this. They understand the steps. The other thing, for example, when I work with teens, I kind of see where they're at. If I see that they're a little reluctant, not wanting to talk, I'm not gonna, throw a bunch of therapeutic questions at them. No, I'm gonna get to know them. I want to know who they are, and that's one of the things that I do with all clients. I let them know, hey, I work for you. Okay, you have hired me. I work for you. So I feel like I'm an open book to them. If they have a question about me, I'll more than gladly answer it. And so I feel like my therapeutic style is, very educational. It's looking at the person individually, and I share my own experiences if it's appropriate at the time. Yeah, that's a big one. And nowadays you hear so many things that's going on. But in my counseling, I always teach mind control. It's extremely important to understand how the mind works. It's important to understand that, okay, there is a process. When God built us, when God designed us, He designed the brain, and there's a process to it. I have a lot of folks that will say, Jaime, you make it sound easy to get out of this or get out of that. It is easy. It's about the power of the mind. Now, there are other factors in there. There are other things that we need to look at and consider. Was there trauma? Was there this? Of course. But, I think there's this big disconnect. And I think folks just don't realize the gift that God has given us. And we all have that gift, which is our brain. Yes, some of us have made chemical imbalances. Yes, some of us may have suffered trauma, different things like that. But we all have, I feel that God gave us what we need in a lot of aspects to help us. So I think there's this big disconnect nowadays. The other big disconnect, and I hate to say this, but it's that I think our youth are not getting outdoors enough. I look at, there's a stop, school bus stop right at the corner of our house, and I see all these kids out there, high school kids, and they're all on the phone. And it's like, man, they don't even probably know each other. They don't talk to each other. And so I think that's been a big contribution, is that I think a lot of folks are addicted to their phones, their electronics. And so they're kind of shutting down. They're not, utilizing their brain. They're not utilizing skills that are natural, that God set into us. And so I think that could be a big effect on it.
What is the most challenging thing about being a therapist?
I think for me is you really have to think, okay, this person is coming in for this. Are there any other issues, things? So you really got to do some kind of like detective work. You really have to dig, because I think the most challenging part is a lot of times they're not going to give you the full story. You kind of have to dig it out. They'll give you the portion they feel safe giving you, and that's fine. I understand at the beginning, that's okay. But sometimes that could be challenging, because a therapist could forget. Oh, I remember they said this, and I needed to go there. I want to go there. So it's a matter of remembering those little things, and probing and going deeper, and talking about family of origin, talking about these things that could have an effect on them. And so keeping up with all that could be a little challenging. Yeah.
How do you feel about client confidentiality?
Oh, it's imperative. That is imperative. That is a huge must. Because, and I'm a real stickler on that, especially, man, I'll put this out there. It irks me when I get a subpoena and somebody's trying to subpoena the records of a child, let's say a young child, after the child feels like, okay, let's say he's 12, 13, and he's divulged a lot of information, what he feels, because he feels, okay, this is a safe place. Nobody's gonna know what I say. This is for me. And then to get a subpoena, and if it's ordered by judge, then that's gonna be thrown out there. This child is always gonna have that in mind. Well, I don't want to go to counseling. This stuff comes out. So I think confidentiality is very imperative. That's one thing that I tell the parents when I deal with the kids. Don't come back and ask me, what did he or she say? I can't. And the children know this. They know that, even the young ones, I tell them, I work for you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to represent you. I had a 7-year-old ask me, can I fire you? Like, oh, geez, already? And I says, yeah, technically you could fire me. And so, but I think confidentiality is a must, because this is where you share what you really feel. It should be a place where you share internally what you feel, what you kind of feel, maybe embarrassed or ashamed or whatever. We're not here to judge you. We're not here to ridicule you. We're not here to say, oh my God, no. We're here to help you. We work for the client.
Why is counseling so important to you?
Because I feel, in my case, I feel that this was a calling. This was a calling from God. I think things happen in a sequence that said, because I knew nothing about counseling. When I was young, I didn't know anything about counseling. Never heard what a counselor did. I knew school counselor, but other than that, but I feel like this was a calling, and I feel that in society now, and always, in all aspects, it's something that's very needed. It's to help, and of course, you know, we're not the only ones. We need our pastors, we need our doctors, we need all these other folks. But yeah, I just feel this is imperative. I have some clients that, you know, they look at counseling just as they look at their gym membership. You know, the gym makes me feel good. I go work out, my physical aspect. The therapeutic side is the mental aspect. And so it's very important.
Why do you want to make these videos?
I've been, you know, talking about God again, I've been struggling as I always feel like I need to do more. And so, you know, I feel like I need to get information out there. You know, I want to be able to help as many people as I can. And I know I'm limited as to how many people I could see here in the office. And so I hope that these videos will, you know, shed some light on folks that have these questions that they're not too sure about what's the answer. You know, I hope it helps them in any way that it can. And so, you know, I know you and I talked about the videos, and so I'm excited because of the things you told me. I know nothing about TikTok and all this other stuff, or, you know, all this stuff you told me about. It's like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. But, you know, if it helps one person, that's awesome. Because if that one person then kind of spreads the word as, okay, you know, this helped me, you should look into this, you know, you should this or that, then it branches out. And if we all do our own little part, that branch is just going to extend and extend. And I believe that's what we need a lot more of today.
What is your role as a counselor?
My role as a counselor, to me, is to serve. Bottom line, I'm here to serve. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to ridicule you. I'm just like you. And I teach this to everyone, everybody, you know, that knows me, my kids, my grandkids, and when my great-grandchild gets old enough to know this, I'll teach him that too, that we're all the same. You know, title or money, it doesn't make us better, doesn't make us more important. In God's eyes, we're all the same. We're all God's children. And so I just had a senior moment. So what was the question again? My role?
What is your role as a counselor?
Yeah, to serve. Basically to serve, yeah.
What do you think the main reason for self-harm is?
I think the main reason is, you know, and I get a lot of different clients that, you know, they talk about kind of making them feel alive, kind of making them, you know, feel just to feel. So I think there's this disconnect about being able to sense, being able to feel. And so with that, once again, I don't see that as textbook. I see that as it's individually, it's an individual thing that I have to address with the person and teach them how to process, okay, how to feel. Because a lot of times is that they don't know how to express what they're feeling, that harm, that you know, the trauma or the fears or whatever that they're going through. Some of them, some kids, young adults, don't even know how to say what they feel. So with those, we start from the, you know, from the ground up. You know, let me show you how to talk about what you feel. I give them a list. You know, it has all these feeling words. Okay, you know, pick out which one do you feel today? Well, I feel this. Oh, yeah, here's one. You know, and a lot of times, well, what does this mean? So I help them get in connection with their inner self, their self-awareness, so that they know what they're feeling. You know, I think a lot of times they're kind of numb as to what they're really feeling. The other thing is they don't know, you know, who's their outlet. They feel like this is something that they have to keep into themselves because of culture, beliefs, or, you know, however they were raised maybe. I mean, there's so many different reasons, but you know, that's another thing why counseling is very imperative, because here you can share these things and talk about it.
If you weren't a therapist, what would you be?
If I wasn't a therapist, what would I be? A firefighter. I think firefighters are so cool. You know, when I was young, I wanted to be a firefighter. I guess all kids want to be a fireman, right? Yeah. Well, that's the kid inside of me. I would still like to be a firefighter.
That's the end of this interview.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.